Moving companies, you know referrals are the best leads, right? But communicating with customers, tracking progress, managing payouts, it's just overwhelming. That's why at Snowball, we do it all for you. And we're really good at it. In fact, in just a few months, the Snowball platform helped JK Moving generate over $200K in new revenue. We even helped New City Moving book 30 moves in a single month. If you have happy customers, we can get you referrals. Scan the QR code or click the link in the description to get the first 2 months on us.
Welcome, everybody. It is Movified Wednesdays. I'm your host, Mark Hershey, owner of Sam's Moving and Storage, located in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. And today I am ecstatic because, you know what? We always try and make these episodes work. I'm at a coffee shop in downtown Vancouver, about to go to an appointment, so I can't be my normal location. Brian Slater had to switch up appointments. You know, we're making things work, and today we have Jason Haas. Jason, welcome to Movified. It's your first time being on a podcast. Jason is the operations manager at Big League Movers. Welcome, Jason.
No, thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's a pleasure. It's all mine. I'm excited. And of course, Stephen Reed, sporting our watermelon Movified t-shirt. I always appreciate it. So he's
All
typically
the time. It's
ready.
one of my favorite t-shirts.
I love it. It seems to be very popular. So, you know, it's funny because I really want to start this episode off with like a big pet peeve that I have. And I'm going to see if Jason has the answer to this. You're going to hear some coffee grinds going on in this coffee shop. So we're going to make things work. We'll hopefully get some of this echo cancellation off. But, you know, okay. So Jason, number one thing, when you are being part of an organization, were you set up with a LinkedIn page? Were you set up to like update your Facebook page or an Instagram page? Is this something that you have as an operations manager?
Me personally, I do have those things, but I wouldn't say that was my prime go-to.
Okay. But like, did you have that prior to joining Big League Movers? Or was this something that they sat down and said, okay, now that you're an operations manager, you need to have this in place because it's important to show, you know, that type of network within the organization?
Go ahead, go ahead and tell the story, Hoss. No filter. This is Movified. So,
oh yeah,
okay. So, no, I'll tell you this. Growing up and coming up my bringing, I was never been the biggest technology guy. I had a flip phone for probably longer than anybody else that I know. You can attest to that right there. Just one of those things I was just never, huge about. Probably like 4 years, I would say I've really gotten on board with, technology and advancements in it, because I've seen how it really helps, my job and the industry as well. And I have to give that credit, honestly, to my friend here, Steve Reed, who's always been big on the technology upgrades, updates, and everything like that. And I got most of my news about technology through Steve.
Well, that's always, and which is great because, for me, I find in any organization, we have this even in our weekly huddles with our own staff is, are you up to date on LinkedIn? Do we all have the same profile, header image, so that there's something being unified all throughout the organization. And always the feedback I got from staff is always like, well, what for? Like, I'm never on it, right? Like I bet you, Haas, like if I asked you how many times you've been on LinkedIn in the last, month, you'd probably be like 0. Like I just have it probably as my backup profile and it's something that we have. But, to me, when it comes to organizations, is actually very key to make sure that your staff are being involved into it. Stephen, like what are your thoughts around that? Because we're both business owners. We kind of threw Jason on the mix of this, but it's a topic that gets brought up even to business owners themselves that aren't being, I don't have a proper Facebook page or an Instagram page, even a TikTok page or a LinkedIn page. Right? So what's your standpoint on the employees within your organization making sure that they have, proper profiles?
Well, I think that's kind of a weird thing because, it's somebody's personal life and it's somebody's personal page and it's your company, right? What I always attribute to, if I'm paying somebody by commission, right? If I'm paying somebody for growth, I'm saying, are we not in it together? And you see how I'm using it. I also look for people that are on Facebook because I love social media. It's fun. I'm messaging a lot. Mark, you and I are on social media a lot. I love it. So when I love something, I got to find a way to make it valuable, right? And so while I'm on Facebook, I validate it by getting my name out there. If I'm browsing, I'm doing something to get my name out there, right? And I teach that a lot. I think if you look at Jason's page, it's an echo of my page in a lot of ways. He supports in that way, but I don't pressure too much, unless they're like more of a commission type sales role. To stay aligned, yes. As an owner, I would love Jason to say, "Hey, I looked at your LinkedIn the other day. How can I align to be more like that?" But at the same time, I don't. Jason's not a big on LinkedIn, and that means he's comfortable not looking for a job or getting recruited or anything of that nature. So I'm also happy in the way that he's not on there. But I don't make it a company thing. I pressure if you're commission. I have ways of saying what my expectations are a little bit on that too. Without saying that, I have ways of saying if somebody's not involved, I might go to Jason and be like, I can't believe this person looks at my stuff while at work every day and never shares. But I've always treaded lightly on the social media side. But Jason's a great example because he wears the big league mover and on deck flag like it's his own, because it is in a lot of ways. If you remember, Mark, our last episode was kind of halfway talking about on deck. Well,
That's
Jason's not the operation manager for Big League. He's the operation manager for on deck deliveries, right? So he's the gentleman that kind of came up and got on the first truck at Williams-Sonoma and grew with that on that stuff. Pre-LinkedIn years, I'd say. Yeah,
I love it. Poor Jason. He just nods his head. It's like, you gotta.
I remember Facebook. It's funny you bring that up. I used to be on there. Literally, I would look at it in the morning every day, and all I used it for was to remember people's birthdays because I'm just terrible at it, and just tell everybody happy birthdays, and that was me. Now I'm on there, like Steve says. I'm anything I see come across, about the company, I'm commenting, liking, sharing to help spread the word, get out there, because I've seen over the years how much of an actual effect that does have. So where before I'd look at it, it's like, oh, it's just, just Facebook or whatever, whatever. Exactly. And now you come to learn to look at it in a different way to see what kind of impact it actually can have on the organization.
Well, and you've like hit the nail on the head, because, and I express this a lot to our staff all the time. I said, it's, no one wants to hunt down and search what you're doing on Facebook. Right? As an employee, you have your own private life. You have everything going for you, whether you want to be on social media or not. But if you do have a Facebook page, at least like and share the company's posts. And by doing that, it spreads like wildfire, because that manager, that friend that, you haven't heard from in a long time, might be thinking about moving or thinking about using, any kind of maybe packing, or they're looking for storage, and they just saw you share a recent post that was talking about, how Big League Movers offers a discount on, 3 months of storage or whatever the situation might be. And now they're reaching out to you going, hey, Jason, I remember that post, and that free advertisement is like a snowball effect, right? And it just keeps spreading and spreading. And I always see sometimes I have family friends of like my parents that reshare a post about my moving company just because they like that post, right? So it's so appreciative, and I'm always like, thank you so much, right? Like big hearts, and it's really appreciative because when you have that with the organization, just like Steven says, like, are we all in the same boat? Are we going down that same path? We want to see the company succeed. But let's flip the script here, right? I don't want to keep chatting about that the entire time. Jason, bring me into like the first day you getting hired on at Big League Movers. Like, what was your position? What was that like? You know, how is Steven as a boss? Like, let's really rip into Steven a little bit here, because he might look like the
Go
nicest
ahead,
guy.
yeah. I mean, I learned.
But I don't
My
really
guys
believe
saw
it
me learn
sometimes.
with them. You know what I mean? On that stuff.
Okay. I remember, okay, so the first time I ever came on
How
with Big
small
League,
were we? Yeah, yeah. Go back and talk about the size we were too.
Steve had they were in a house in a middle bedroom or middle room with a desk and just, back to back. And that's where the whole thing started right there. With just in a room.
Pads everywhere. Just pads
Pads
everywhere. Fold them and put them in the room under my desk.
Just the room.
Hi, my name's Tim Krupp. I'm the owner of Krupp Moving and Storage in Worcester, Ohio. We also have branches in Akron, Ohio, and Columbus. I started my companies in 2005. In 2018, I heard about USA Home Listings, and I believe I was actually like one of their first people to actually like sign up for their program, and started doing mailers, and it completely revolutionized my business. That year we saw a 40% increase. And all the way back then, we were only doing, prior to USA Home Listings, we were doing about $1 million a year. First year with USA, we were like 1.4, and I think that was 2018. 2022, we'll do just at right about $10 million. And USA Home Listings still remains our #1 marketing source. It outperforms everything else. So if you want to elevate your business to the next level, give USA Home Listings a call, get the free trial, get started today. What are you waiting for?
Yeah. And when I came on at the very beginning was Steve's a great friend of mine, and they, were just, needing some help. They were starting up a company. I was proud of my buddies for doing this, and I was like, okay, yeah, they need help. Friends like me, we came to do it. Because I've always had, I've always had a job. I've always been working since I was, 15 years old and everything like that, working full time. So I've always had stuff, but I always made time to help out my friend when he needed people. And I learned the business, and we'd all worked, part-time, moving companies growing up to and everything like that. And it just kind of through that, learned a lot throughout the years as just kind of off and on, helping out. Until it was years, later down the road where I finally came on full time with them.
And what was that when you came on full time? What was that like? Tell me about the size you were at when you said, "Okay, we're doing big things, and I want to jump into this."
Yeah, I remember I was actually a freight broker at the time for a small 3PL. And Steve calls me, and he's got this opportunity with Williams-Sonoma to start doing deliveries and everything like that. He needed somebody, Pottery Barn and stuff like that. So he needed someone that he could trust to, be away out of Memphis for, a week at a time. And, then come back. So he, someone that could help, set all that stuff up. So I did that. And this, I believe it started with one truck. Then it grew to 2 for that. And then it grew a little bit more after that, just for that. But that's how On Deck started, was truck doing Williams-Sonoma.
And you just on one side of that, Hoss, a good, interesting point is, when you joined, were you thinking this is just a job to get out of my 3PL, or what did you see? I don't know that answer, Mark, so I'm just interested. What did you see when you were joining that Williams-Sonoma?
Well, I looked at it. I'll say there's a few different things I looked at, to be honest with you. Number one, yes, I was looking to get out of that little 3PL that I was working for, straight commission. That was just, I learned a lot about the logistics world and logistics overall while I was there, and I'm thankful for that right there, because it gave me a lot of knowledge that I've used later on in my career. But it was just, I was not happy there. It wasn't a good spot. And then this opportunity came up, and I came over. So initial thought was, all right, great, I got something to get out of here. And after that, I saw what it was and what it had the potential to become. And so at that point, I was like, okay, well, this is it. This is where I need to be, and this is what I need to help, be a part of and grow. because I saw the potential of where it was at and what it could become and where it was headed.
Interesting. Now, when you were now just being the main driver, right? So you were really kind of getting the hands-on. You came from a logistics delivery company prior. And when you were coming on here, was there a lot of sit down with Steven to go, okay, like, how do we fine tune this delivery? Or was it kind of going, okay, Steven, like, what do you need me to do? Like, were you ready hands-on right off the bat to kind of go, hey, okay, I've come from this 3PL service industry. I see that you want to get into delivery. How do we make this the best damn delivery service that you've ever seen?
Well, I would say the first part of that was me and Steve sat down and we talked about the account and what, all entailed and what we were going to be doing. After that, we sat and we talked. And after, I went out on the road for a couple of weeks, just seeing how everything was, because I couldn't really, offer anything up or give any feedback on it until I actually got into it to see what it was actually there. I mean, we could all go.
Jason was real. If I go back in time, Jason was real adamant about being on that truck and doing it for a while.
Yes, because to me, without actually experiencing something like that, especially for it being so new to us and what we were getting into, without actually being hands-on and experiencing it, I don't see how you could actually run it and grow it properly without knowing all complete aspects of it.
When I decided to try Mover Marketing AI's social media posting service, I wasn't sure what to expect, but they really surprised me. They were able to capture the essence of my company's brand with professional and perfectly crafted content. Now they manage my social media, posting tips, reviews, and relevant content while I get to focus on my business. For just $300 a month and no long-term contracts, I enjoy peace of mind and strong digital presence without any of the hassle. If managing social media feels overwhelming, I 100% recommend Mover Marketing AI's social media posting service. You won't regret it. Just go to movermarketing.ai/deal and fill out your information and get your free week of social media posts exclusive for Movified listeners. You won't regret it.
Yeah, I always find that, and we've talked about this on the show or had it on the podcast, where I always say, like, you get hired as a server at a restaurant, work in the kitchen, right? Like, learn your products first before going out there and shouting out what the menu is going to be. And I find that a lot when you get moving consultants, when you get, guys that are starting in the office. It's like, get ready. Like, your first week of training, like, I want you kind of on the truck. I want you to really know what the guys are going through, whether you're just a third guy, whether you're just a ride along, and you're not like being stuck moving boxes or anything else, because you don't need to get hurt. I want to make sure that that you understand how the process works, right? Which is so key. So now, Jason, you've done the deliveries, you've done the setup. Steven has this trust in you because now you guys are getting busier. And where does it step on to, because you've got guys that are listening and going like, Nat, okay, I really have this key guy that I have within my company. I really want to bring them on maybe as operations. What was some of the things, Steven, you were looking for in Jason? And Jason, what were some of the things that you had expectations in Steven going, if you want me to, be an operations manager, I'm going to need X, Y, and Z.
I see you. I think Mark disconnected.
Yeah, I think it's frozen.
Hey, we're still recording, so I guess we can talk a little bit.
Look,
all right.
Yeah,
I mean, where was he going on that? He was going in the. What were some things I was looking for in you on that side? And
sorry,
we kind of ran into each other, and I was stuck with you. Yeah, go ahead.
Did it cut off for a second? I think we lost
it did. Your mid-question.
Yeah. So my mid-question is really about when it came now time for Jason to become an operations manager. Steven, what was your expectations in Jason? And Jason, what were some of the things that were going to make you succeed that you wanted out of Steven, like the support? And how nervous were you to take on that role?
Yeah. So I was, we're friends, right? So that was the first thing that
Well, clearly, if everybody's watching this, they're going to see these two bearded men, like, you guys are ready to go hunting or something.
So the most important thing to me was, hey, you are my friend. You're going to have a higher standard because I expect you to watch my back more. Right. And that was a lot of pressure on Jason. I'll let him talk this out because I'm intense. I mean, I think the show kind of knows that by now. I'm a pretty intense guy. He'll confirm. I wake up at 3 a.m. and I talk about moving and I'm ready to go. And so I'm intense and that's hard. So I wanted to make sure friendship is friendship, right? No matter how much we argue, whatever it is ethically, we're never going to hurt each other. We know that. No matter how mad we are ethically, we're not going to do anything bad intent. And I just want to kind of cover those ground rules. We may argue, but 10 minutes later, let's go watch Stone Cold Steve Austin and crack a beer. And so I laid those ground rules pretty thick. And I laid it to him, and I want ownership of it. I want to see you grow with it. This is what I told him, what I see, right? And he'll tell you I'm pretty deep and I'm a strategy guy and I see where we're going to end up. And I told him what I see that in him, and he knows I'm a man of my word. And we worked at it, and it didn't always go perfect. We didn't grow fast enough. Jason had other opportunities. He had bills to pay, and I understood that. And he went to go learn something, as we talk about Mark, and he knows he got off the boat for a minute, and I said, go learn something and bring it back, and he did. But I'll let him kind of share that story. But my main expectation was getting on a level where we had an understanding of where we were going, even at a younger age. So.
Yeah, I'll say that's exactly right. We had to sit down and talk about how, how we're going to do this, because Steve's one of my best friends. We've grown up together. I mean, heck, we found out, I think it was in our 30s when we finally found out that your dad and my mother actually went to high school together.
Yeah, they used to hang out. Yeah, kind of fun.
Yeah. So we had a, nice talk about how we were going to do this and keep, friendship and, business completely separate, because, you just don't want to mess with that. And it's worked. Like he said, I mean, we've butted heads. We've had it out over the years, but it's always been for the greater good. I'll never say that we've, just, gone right at it just because out of just sheer anger and screw that guy or something like that. It's all,
it's passion.
It's all about it's all passion about, going in the same direction, just maybe having two different thoughts or ideas on it, and both very passionate people about what we do. And you can ask Steve this as well. I mean, I look at this company, On Deck Deliveries I've been running and helped start up. I look at it like it's mine. And I feel like anybody in that position, you have to, like you said, you have to have some kind of ownership, just because that is your livelihood. I take great pride in my brand and what I bring to the table and what we do. And yeah, it's just like that. I mean, just keep it separate.
But for Stephen, let's say Jason was not one of your best friends. What are some of the key qualities? And Jason, you don't have to get super emotional listening to this, but Stephen, what were some of the key qualities that you had or your expectations were in a solid operations manager? Because, this gets brought up a lot when someone really needs to find operations, especially on the delivery side, right? Because you want to fine tune and grow this process and expand, not just to have, Pottery Barn and Williams Sonoma. It's like, I want 10 of these accounts and I want 40 trucks running. So, how do you make this work off the bat? What are some of the key things that you're looking for in that operations manager?
Well, it's not computer skills, right? I think Jason alluded to that earlier. I can find computer skills all around, Jason. The number one tool that I'm looking for is leadership, a set of ethics, of fairness, and leadership, right? Because that's what it boils down to. It's who's going to follow him and how, right? Jason is a checklist mentality. He does not wait for things to happen. That was a big skill set that I look for. Is I don't want to have somebody that has to think about it, go home and plan how they're going to deal with somebody. I'm looking for somebody that's instant reaction when something goes wrong is to pick up the phone and call, right? And you can see on this interview, this podcast interview, that Jason's moving his legs, right? He's got a jitter to go get something done, right? You know what I mean? He's ready for it. He's an action guy. He is the guy at the office at 5:30 with the finger guns, right? He is. What are you doing, sir? Boom, 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 boom. Wake it up. Let's go. And so I guess I've always called it, and it's such a negative term, but I've always called it confrontational. But it's confrontational for the organization to keep churning and everybody going in the same direction.
Gotcha. Jason, would you say that a lot of your characteristics attribute to who you look for when you're hiring new drivers, new helpers that are going to be doing these deliveries? Like, what are some of the things that because how do I phrase this correctly? When you're trying to find good crew for moving, there's a sense of, how's your customer service? How are they going to be like with the customer? They're moving a lot of furniture within someone's house. And then when you get to deliveries, it sometimes can be a little bit different, where you're like, maybe, sometimes that gas pedal's off a little bit. You're a little bit more slack on who you're hiring, because you're like, oh, dude, this guy's just picking up, just dropping curbside delivery. It's not rocket science to do this. But, what are some of the things that you look for when you are hiring guys to do those deliveries
Well, it's actually just several different key factors I look at. Like, first off, like, I know some places will do this and I will never understand it, but I will never hire anybody without actually meeting them in person. I'm big on, reading people, reading body language, everything like that. It's real easy that someone can do an interview over the phone and, fool you.
Sure.
Pull the wool over your eyes, but you meet them in person. Usually you can catch a lot of things that would be missed over the phone. But my biggest
What are you trying to catch? What are you
trying
to catch things?
Oh, just lies. Like, general questions you ask, and you can usually tell with body language and just the way someone's facial expression changes when they're answering a question, or the way their body's moving around when they're doing it. If there's eye contact happening. Because the way I look at it right here is, if you're not going to interact with me well during an interview, then I'm not going to expect that you're going to interact well with a customer out on the road. So, because to me, you would be on your best P's and Q's going for a job, as opposed to being out there on the road. Another, stress this, I would say the two biggest qualities that someone can have, because I can teach most of this job. Dug near everything, I can teach somebody. You can give me somebody that has zero experience, and I can mold them into being a good delivery person.
What are some of the things that you're teaching them? What are some of the key points that you want to have on your delivery team?
Oh, I would say being able to de-escalate a situation is one of the biggest things. And that is something that I constantly, teach guys, because how many times we get to a delivery, a customer has this expectations, but we have like this service level from the accounts that is our actual customer.
So Jason, most of the people don't actually do deliveries. So what do you mean by that? So last week I talked a little bit about, we don't actually work for the furniture store. We work for a 3PL. But what do you mean by service escalation like that?
Okay, so usually with every delivery, there's different service levels. As you could start from a basic, which is just like your normal Amazon deliveries, just outside delivery. Threshold, threshold, right inside the doorway or garage. Room of choice, just like it says, and white glove, which is the fun one, which is you take it inside, whatever room they want it in, you unpackage it, take all the trash with us, and do whatever assembly is needed for it. Now, you'll have customers that, just like y'all know, a sales guy somewhere at a furniture store will tell somebody anything, as long as they get their commission. And this person that got a basic outside delivery was told by a sales guy, we hear it all the time, that, they said y'all would bring it in and assemble it. And, we just have to show them the paperwork. You have some customers that get worked up, and it's just something that you constantly have to teach guys as they're coming in, especially newer guys, on how to not, they got to keep a level head. I was like, you never raise your voice. You just keep it calm, because that's what's going to steer the direction. You lead the conversation. And like something that Steve says all the time that actually really resonates with me is always be the expert. When we're somewhere at someone's home, we're the ones with the expertise. If you go in there acting like you don't know what's going on or know what you're doing, then what does that tell the customer right there? They're automatically honed in on that. But if you go in there confident, you know what you're doing, even if they come at you with something you don't know, you just say, I need to step to the truck for one moment, call me or one of my people here in the office, get us situated, good to go. But like the biggest qualities I look in guys that I hire are dependability and communication. Those two things right there will solve 95% of your problems in this business right here.
Yeah, dispatch track makes your life a lot easier on managing those guys day to day, on the hour to hour.
Oh yes, 100%. But with dependability and communication, you can solve majority of your problems off the bat. As long as you got guys that are dependable. And I tell all of my guys, look, I completely understand, life happens. There's things that are out of our control that happen. But as long as you communicate these things and let someone know, it's something that we can always work on or we can fix. But you have to let somebody know in order for that to happen.
Yeah, I always find like the biggest
responsibility too. Like besides a mover versus a driver. Sorry, Mark. On a mover driver versus a delivery driver, I'm looking for a little bit more patience. I'm looking for a little bit more responsibility, right? I'm looking for, this guy's going to have to deal with 12 customers and 12 problems a day. So a little bit more problem solving than sheer, will to get something done. Determination.
Yeah, I like that. Now, when we look more in the future, for even next year, Jason, what are some of the key things that you have to make sure, and me and Steven kind of talked about this, but what makes a good delivery team? Like, as you're going to grow and expand, what are some of the key fundamentals that now, hey, like things are moving, like things are going, it's very easy for us to scale up, to expand on because we have these things in place. What were some of the main, like 3 things that you needed to make sure that, okay, we got this in place, we can expand, we can totally grow this thing up?
Okay, I would say engagement, employee engagement is always number one, because as long as you're consistently coaching and growing and improving, then that'll take care, everything else will kind of fall into place. But you can't get lax. I would say complacency is probably one of the biggest killers in this business right here.
How do you do, I know the answers to this, but how do you do engagement? How do we do engagement? If you will, how do you try to stay intact with your team as busy as you are?
Well, I will say this. First off, number one is dispatch launch. And I preach this, and I say this to Steve all the time as well. Dispatch launch, minutes in the morning can save you hours later in the day. With just having that key, one-on-one time with your guys in the morning while they're, doing their loadout, going over things from the day before, making them aware that, hey, we're watching. We see all, everything that's going on.
Finger guns ablazing.
Finger guns out in the morning. I'm probably the most hyperactive person in this office in the morning.
What are you looking for when you're in there? So Jason's kind of playing the card of he's observing people's behaviors and asking about what happened yesterday. So what are you looking for when you're walking through with your finger guns?
The first thing I look for when I'm walking through and I'm checking all the guys out in the morning is facial expressions. Like I said, I'm really big on reading people. I worked in the restaurant industry for many, many years, and I got pretty good at it, being able to, judge, people's reactions and everything. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm looking at everybody's faces as I'm walking through. And if I don't see all smiling faces or something like that, as soon as I see a frown or someone just walking around like this right here, that's my key right there. Like, oh, that's my first target of the day right there. Let's see what's going on. And that way you can address things and nip a lot of things in the bud early on, because especially in this business, it's tough because once they leave this dock, I mean, they're gone. They're gone for the day.
Yeah.
We're gone for the day. And my only, the only thing I can do is make a phone call. It's not like I can go up to the guy, tap him on the shoulder and be like, hey, man, what are you doing? And this is how it goes right here. So that time in the morning is some of the most crucial, I would say, of anything else that we do.
Gotcha. I like that. Is there, so you have some of these key elements, everything else, and I kind of want to wrap this whole thing into a bow, Jason, because I know you have such a busy day to go on. What would you say is the goal of the next 5 years? Like, where would you like to see yourself? And this is a great question to bring up with Steven, because, this is going to be like maybe a double-ended question. Because when I see someone like yourself that has that commitment, that is super engaged, everything else, like in my head, I'm like, man, this guy should have shares in the company. Like this guy should have some type of ownership over top of things. I don't know all the full fine details, but I'm just throwing that out there.
Thanks, Mark's giving you an offer right now to move to Canada, huh?
That's right. That's right. See, you look at that, perfect. You're already getting that Canadian accent in there. But it's right. One of those things. It's one of those things also as business owners that we sometimes goes in the back of our mind. Hey, we have this really good employee. We really don't want to lose him. This guy is so committed. He's passionate. He or she. Because there's a lot of females also in the operations game as well too, that are powerful leaders, and you
shout out to Elaine.
Oh, for sure. And we talked about this a little bit earlier when we were talking about LinkedIn, where sometimes these guys get job offers, or someone left their Indeed profile on for 5 years, and now they're getting another job offer that might be a little bit more juicier, right, than what Haas is being paid. So what is some of the incentives, Steven, that you put forth and that you see that Jason should be coming up for? And Jason, same kind of question goes to you as when, where do you sit down as an operations manager? Or because I want to, for people that are maybe listening to it where they're the employee going, yeah, I know Steven's my friend, but there comes a time where I want to also be acknowledged or be paid for. What is that expectation?
Acknowledge me.
Yeah, exactly, right? Because people want to be acknowledged as well too. So, Jason, you go first.
Oh, wow. Okay. See, I thought Steve was going to take this one right here, but
no, you can't piggyback on that one. Yeah, this is a good one. We talk about this one. Yeah. Jason and I, this is the best guy to talk to about this one. We talk about it literally on Friday nights a lot.
Oh yeah. So where I see myself and where I see this going over the long run, next 5 years, is that I would like to see us on the path that we're going right now, just continuously growing. And eventually I would love to have the Mid-South area, just the whole Mid-South area to myself. But that's honestly the direction. If we keep going and trending the way we are right now, I see this thing just blowing up to where, we'll have to have separate warehouses for, moving company and delivery. And I see it I see so much potential and everything in the way this is going. And I envision my role, and we talk about this eventually being just moving up from here and being over the entire delivery operation as we expand and as we grow. And then, putting people like myself, which let's be really not going to find one like me, but, similar, in my role as far as, running day-to-day operations.
Steven? Great answer, Jason.
Yeah, it's on par. Jason and I have a relationship, and my leadership team have a relationship where I am very blunt about, hey, guess what? I'm going to tell you when the goal changes for me. You're going to hear about it first thing in the morning. I work for win-win, so I understand what Jason wants. We went through a lot of exercises to know what Jason wants, like he knows what I want. Right. And we went through a lot of exercises to know what that, and our deal we have is a win-win for us. Right. He knows exactly where I want the company to go and expect. It's called the pathway. as he alluded to a pathway. There we have a pathway that is our plan. He knows what my plan is when we get there, right? And then it's an opportunity for him when we get there to say where he wants to take that next curve in the pathway. But there's going to be several options at that point for us to choose the team where we want to go. And that's how I operate. It's his life. I mean, I own the business, right? I'm not going to join a different career. So this is my life. And so it's important to me to go ahead and have that. Let me see what Jason wants. And hey, when Jason starts feeling a different way, it's important for him to come to me and say, you know what? Things change. I got an expensive fiance. He doesn't have an expensive fiance. She's great, right? But I got an expensive fiance, and I want to know that. I might not be able to say, yes, here's a bunch of money, right? But then I'm able to think differently and say, okay, well, let's plan to go this way. Maybe you can't work as much, but I can't pay as much for this aligned with our goals. We change it, and we don't ever have that space. We don't ever have that awkward space of like, what happened? How'd we end up here? I never even had a chance to rebuttal. I never even had a chance to know, right? And so I'm really, really pro. It's not easy to tell me information, right? But it is easy. I do make it easy to like, I want to know when something changes in your life and where you want to go, just like I tell you.
I would say it's kind of like the same dynamic as I said about what I'm looking for when I'm hiring people. As far as my two biggest things is, one of the biggest things I talk about is communication. It's the same thing with our dynamic or, with Steve, or I'd say any dynamic in, the business world or office or this industry or any industry. Communication to me is like right there. Okay. As long as you have that down, sky's the limit. You can figure everything else out. But you got to have that communication there at the core to be able to do anything.
And just like he is for me, I need to be that way for him. Like if he finds something that I can't match, that he can't even produce at I don't have the opportunity for him to make a path to produce. Right? I'm going to be cheering that dude on. I'm going to be, I'm in it with him. Like, holy crap, you got something that we can't produce in big league. We can't produce it on deck, right? I want to celebrate that, on that side. So that's how I view it. It's. Yeah,
okay, we get it. All right, I'm moving on. Jason, finally for you before we end off. You've been in the industry for many years. You gotta have stories. What's a funny moving or delivery story that happened in your past that you can share with us on the show?
Okay. I got one for each.
Okay.
I got one for each. One for moving, one for delivery.
Perfect.
I would say moving. One of the funniest ones that I can think of, just because it was when Steve had just started this company, and we were young. I would say early mid-20s. I would say, and we were down in Jackson, and it was me, Steve.
You're going where the lift gate broke and we were about to get mobbed. I was wondering where we had a few, Jason.
Yeah, why are you jumping in on this story? Why are you jumping in on the story? Let Jason tell the story.
I was wondering which one. There's a few. I was wondering what he was going to pick.
All right.
Yeah, he was there. He was there. And I'll never forget. Well, we just gotten done. We got this guy. He was moving to a better town. He just finished med school and everything like that. He's a doctor. We get his house completely loaded up in this truck. We're about to head out. And it's not the best neighborhood. And all of a sudden, the lift gate goes out, and the lift gate is on the ground.
Oh, shit.
Sun's going down. Next thing you know, so we call a truck, repair truck to come out there. And next thing you know,
scenario, we're in this all the time. Hey,
it's like no big deal. Nobody panic. The next thing you know, street lights start coming on, sun's going down, and all of a sudden we see just people start appearing out of nowhere. And when I say appearing, I mean basically surrounding the truck and us out of nowhere.
It's starting to rumble. A guy came out and was like, "Hey guys, I own the local pawn shop. Y'all need to get out of here now." I remember that guy coming. Yeah.
And we start circling up around each other just at the back of the truck. And we're just looking around like, oh my God, this is about to be bad. And next thing you know, I'd never been so excited to see some flashing lights. And no, it was not the police. It was the repair truck with its big flashing lights just showing up out of nowhere. And all of a sudden, people just scattered. And we're sitting there like, oh, thank you.
That was pre-Uber, by the way. We couldn't just get out of there. That was
we
pre-Uber.
were there. Yeah, we were stuck. That was
Aging
one of the
ourselves.
And then what about
like
delivery?
early 20s? Okay. Delivery, I would say one of the coolest and funniest stories I ever had was I actually delivered to Reba McEntire's house.
Oh, cool.
In Nashville. Didn't get to meet her, but one of the funniest things was you're looking around and the property there is immaculate. It was beautiful. It was a huge, great place. We were delivering a bar to the pool house. But there was a lovely lady who was the property manager, the house manager.
Martina McBride.
Wish, but no, unfortunately not. And a lady that comes out and giving us direction and just telling us that we had to leave our cell phones in the truck because there was no one to take photos or record anything on the property, as she referred it to the entire time. Well, then, I have to explain to this lady at the end, like, well, ma'am, we do have to take pictures of the finished delivery to send in for delivery. So I'm going to need to get my phone to do this. She's like, oh, no, you can't do that. And I was like, well, I'm just going to let you know that I have to. If not, I have to take that piece back and load it back on the truck and take it with us because I have to show proof of delivery. So it was a whole big back and forth. Well, finally, she got Reba McEntire on the phone. And I hear on speakerphone, and tell her like that. I thought that was just really cool. I was like a big country music fan. No, Reba McEntire is like, actually, her voice, she was actually talking to me.
I'm home. Hi, Reba.
I brought you a bar. Hi, Reba.
Big fan.
Yeah. Love your work. Yeah, so that was one of the cool things. But that was one cool thing about Nashville, doing deliveries out there was you got to go to some really cool places.
I bet.
Like you wouldn't
Yeah,
see
but we
that.
don't like Nashville like that.
No. Don't like it like that. Cool stuff.
Well, listen, Jason, it's been awesome to pull you away from the operations this afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us on your very first podcast. I'm happy that it was Movified. And Stephen, always a pleasure. I really appreciate it. And always your guys' insights on operations. I know we're kind of beating a dead horse since we've been talking about operations so many times. It's been brought up, but to me, it is the core of managing and running any type of delivery service, any type of moving company. If your operations isn't figured out, it's just going to go to shit. And it's going to go pretty quickly sideways. So anyways, thank you guys. And for all those listeners, stay movified. And until next time, thank you.
Hey, and one thing real quick. I got to do it, Mark.
Yeah.
Guys, I hope you are listening. Give us some comments. Give us some feedbacks because, I have a lot of respect for the podcast that I'm on for right now. This gentleman is a mile away from going to have surgery. But because he doesn't want anybody to miss out on a Wednesday, he's in a coffee shop right outside of it. So, man, there's not a better podcast than moving. There's not a better podcast than home services. There's not a more committed guy than Mark. So thank you, Mark, for all of us. That's pretty awesome.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys. And tune in and make sure you comment. We want to know about what you guys like and what you don't like. And if you want more questions on operations or more questions on anything to do within your moving company or trade company, send us a message because we'd love to talk about it. Thanks, guys.
Have a successful surgery, Mark.